It is the 13th of October 2018. A number of the monks have requested that I tell my story, so I'm going to have a multi-installment series on this because I got a lot to say about me. It's my favorite subject, me. I was born 500 yards from where I'm sitting right now in the Presidio of San Francisco. My father was a military man, and that was the best military post in all the world because it's so beautiful over there. Before I talk about that, let me talk about one other thing. Today, it is 28 years, 3 months, and 18 days since I masturbated or had an affair. Those two behaviors, masturbation and cheating on women, are the things that made my life really unmanageable. And I haven't done those things for that long a period of time, one day at a time. And we can show you how to do that. If you come to our meetings and if you post daily on monks and you get a sponsor and you work the steps, we can show you how to do that too. So my story starts here in San Francisco. And my very first memory was my father, who was an alcoholic, coming into my bassinet, and he had on a lighter, and he was looking at me, and he brought it close to me, and he brought it close to my feet in my bassinet, and he began to burn me. And I don't know whether he did it on purpose or whether he did it because he was drunk, but that my first reaction in life was terror. Just feeling very afraid of life. I mean, anybody would feel afraid like that if somebody was torturing you with a fiery object, an incendiary device. So that started my life off scary. The second memory I have was before 2 years old, and this was in Jacksonville, Florida, on the other side of America. And I was feeling anxious or nervous about something. I don't remember what it was. I think somebody had stolen my toy monkey or something and thrown it in a pool. That's what I think I remember. And I drank this viscous liquid, formula that people gave children, and it calmed me down. And I lay on my stomach and my face down on the bed, and all I remember is feeling relaxed and comfortable. And so my second memory is using food to help me to calm down. That would color my whole life. 15 years before sex addiction, I would use food to change my feelings. And here's what the definition of addiction is. To change, if I use anything, any substance or any behavior to change my feelings, that's addictive behavior. That's why on prayer call, at the beginning and at the end, 8 times a day, 5 days a week, we say how we feel at the beginning and how we feel at the end, because that is a practicing method to not act out. If we stay with our feelings, then we don't act out. That's our basic theory. And you read that in the E1 and the E2 and the E3 offices on the actwithcourage.com. So that was my first 2 memories. Those 2 things set me up. The feeling of terror and using something to change my feelings would color the next 64 years of my life. I turned 64. When I'm 64, as the Beatles would say. And I'm feeling good about that. So my life started off abused as a child for the first 15 years of my life. I want to talk about what child abuse means. There are several kinds of child abuse. One is verbal abuse. That means using obscenity or profanity when expressing anger with your children. If your kids say, "God damn," and they talked about that to you like that way, you were verbally abused. If you are shamed, that means saying, you're no good, you'll never amount to anything. Or if you were blamed, "It's your fault, kid. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have all these problems. I wouldn't have all these big bills." That's called blaming or controlling someone. Don't you really want to wear that? Is that the college you want to go to? That boyfriend's not good enough for you. That's called controlling. Shaming, blaming, and controlling is emotional abuse. Emotional neglect. That means not being there for someone, not sharing your experience, strengths, and hope, not being positive, gentle, loving, and accepting, not being kind and encouraging. If that did not happen with you, you did not receive it, you were emotionally neglected. Then there's physical abuse. Anytime you use violence on children for any reason, that's physical abuse. Just period. That's all there is to it. Sexual abuse, anytime, and a lot of times with sexual abuse, people say, "Well, there was no genital contact. Somebody didn't put their penis in my vagina," or something like that. That's overt sexual abuse. But if your parents walked around naked, or they were telling you jokes, sexual jokes, or you could hear them having sex in the other room, or they were leaving pornography, that's a big one. My first 2 wives were incredibly damaged by having pornography in their lives, and they had very different reactions to that, harmed them irreparably. So if there's pornography in your computer or around your bathroom or your bedroom, you mean sexually abused as a child. There's a 400% greater chance that you will be a sex addict. That means you can't stop masturbating, PMO, if you were abused as a child than if you weren't. 400%. That statistic comes from Patrick Carnes, the founder, the first guy who invented the term sex addiction, who started Sex Addicts Anonymous. This is a very touchy subject. Now, feel your body when you're hearing me talk about this. Are you tensing up? Are you bowing up? Are your fists clenching? Are your teeth tightening? Are you starting to sweat and you're bowing up? That defensive posture. If you're having a defensive posture, there's a reason. There's a reason for that. Okay. So for me, my life started out about child abuse, from emotional neglect, emotional abuse, verbal abuse, physical neglect. Actually, I didn't have much physical neglect. I had physical abuse and sexual abuse. Physical neglect, most people, like, when I was growing up, if you had a roof over your head and you had clothes on your back and food on your stomach, you were fine. Those were the needs that people thought. We've learned in the last 50 years that children have a lot more needs than that. They have a need for love and belonging. They have a need for safety. They have a need for esteem of others. They have a need for contentment. They have a need for creativity. They have a need for peace. People just didn't know that 50 years. No one in the world knew that. Maslow himself, the guy who created hierarchy of needs, no one knew that. So my life started off about child abuse, and I was abused until I was about 15. And then at 15, I took the hammer and started banging my head myself by drinking lots of beer and chasing lots of women, and that was just destroying me. And then in 27 years old, the year that Hendrix died, and Janis Joplin died, and the year that Jim Morrison died, and Robert Johnson died, all those people died at 27. My body changed and said, you keep doing this, I'm going to kill you. And I walked into the doors of Alcoholics Anonymous. And that's why on the Act with Courage site, right this minute, you'll see the big book, because it's the most holy text to stop acting out sexually. If you want to stop acting out, read that book, because that's the Bible of recovery. We don't sell religion here. What we sell is healthy men, way to get healthy. And so look at the big book. So I walked in at 27, and from 27 to 63, I stayed in recovery all those decades. And I've got recovery from 18, count them, 18 different addictions. And it's been a wonderful life of service and meditation. I've been happy, joyous, and free for 38 years. And then something changed with me at 63, and I kind of got to where it was I was aiming at, and I didn't know that that's where I was aiming to. To use Gandhi's language, you have to hammer things out to become enlightened, but once you become enlightened, you just kind of chill out and just got to relax and enjoy it. And that's kind of where I got to at 63. I just, with the advent of prayer call, I got to what I needed spiritually out of life. I helped co-create it. Me and God co-created it, and the people at prayer call created something that gave me the relaxation to where I was recovered. I wasn't recovering anymore. I had recovered. And then I could, as Gandhi says, repose. I could relax. I could chill out. I could enjoy my life. And it was good. It was good. So this is the first installment. I'll do other installments. If you guys got other issues or other questions that you would like videos on, you make sure and just post them amongst, and me and Alona will see what we can do about knocking out another video. We'll see you in the next video.